Welcome to Just Hair Me Out, a podcast about love, life, and hair. I'm Barbara. I've spent over 38,000 hours coloring hair.
Hi, I'm Demetra, and I've spent over 1,000 weeks with scissors in my hands.
With 50 clients a week in our chairs and 22 years on our feet, doing hair is not our hobby, it's our hustle. We've navigated salon politics and then opened salon suites of our own in 2020. We choose dogs over kids, skinny marks over beer, and we've only fired 3 clients. Each. Hey girl, hey.
Hey.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we want to talk about how we come up with the cost we charge as hairdressers. So this is a big topic. I think a lot of hairdressers are wanting or asking us to create an episode to help people understand where we come up with the numbers.
Yes.
And just like everything else, why it keeps going up.
Yes, of course. And we will also talk about differentiating between working for someone and having your own salon suite, because that's also a little different of how your pricing is and
how it's calculated.
Right.
Yes. And I wanted to point out just to anyone, possibly if you're a hair colorist and you're thinking about doing a salon suite, we're going to give a really good lowdown of how the finances work within a salon suite. But I wanted to point out that as a hair colorist who does not cut, that I make about the same as what I would working for somebody else if it's like 50% commission. That's just the numbers work out the same, because when you have an assistant, like at a salon, you can take pretty much double the amount of clients, because as a colorist, you're only scheduled with a person during the time you apply the color. And then any processing time and shampooing and styling is done by somebody else. So does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask you a question, but I know I'll get us a little off topic. So maybe just so we can do a circle back, maybe towards the end of the episode, probably talk about if it's worth it then.
Yes.
In your case. Okay. We'll touch base on that towards the end of the episode, though. I'd like to, stay focused today.
I know what you're thinking, and I'm ready to answer that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would say let's first talk about this could be controversial, but I wanted to come up with a number that was easy to do some math around. And when you look online, I was actually trying to find out what in the United States is considered like middle class. Again, another episode, but there's more of a divide between upper and middle.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway,
yeah.
But because the cost, I want to say inflation has been like 5% and 7% for a couple of years now.
A total of 9%. I just did the numbers yesterday.
Oh, you did.
Total of 9%.
So it's huge. It's huge. So That's why the cost of everything, including all of our supplies, costs so much more. And so here's the thing. When I first heard this, I thought, wow, that can't be right. $100,000, making $100,000, so just clearing 6 figures, is now middle class for most of America. And it does depend on where you live, and I don't want to, make anyone uncomfortable with what they might be making. But it's true that, like, with cost of living, if you're in a city, that would be a solid middle class, middle of the road kind of salary.
Is that, and I think it depends on, like, if you're in Chicago versus like a mediocre suburb, that can be lower middle class. If you're like someone like me that lives in the actual city of Chicago, I would say $100,000 is lower middle class, opposed to like living out in the boonies. $100,000 can be, honestly, because it is different too.
It is. I just say I'm bringing that up because who's to know? Like, what is the exact number of that? I have no idea. But I want to say, if you're a really great at your craft and this is your career, I think it's kind of messed up to say that's too much for a hairdresser to be making. This is my point of all this.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of clips actually on social media clearly, but on so many different other platforms regarding this. I guess a lot of people are saying how hairdressers are starting to make too much money, but the reality is this is a luxury, people, too. It's a luxury service. It's not a need. So you need to choose wisely how and who you're going to, instead of putting people down to say, what they're making is too much and why are you charging that? And again, when we go through the breakdown, you guys see how much we have to spend just to get the business running. You're probably wondering why we're not charging more.
I agree. I understand that, like, to some people, the numbers might seem kind of big, but I'm always like, wow, I think I'm pretty reasonable in my pricing.
I need to raise my prices. I haven't raised them yet. And after talking with my accountant from last year to this year, and like I said, figuring the numbers out yesterday because I was doing quarterly taxes, we're at a 9% increase. I have not raised my prices by 9%. I actually haven't raised my prices only a few services since last year. So it's time. Be prepared, people.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, and we want all sorts of people to be listening to this, anywhere. Say wherever you are in the world. When it comes to a professional hairstylist, makeup artist, nail tech, all these people, there is a reason for the breakdown, and it's not to be richer than you.
Right.
Does that sound rude?
No, it's not rude at all.
Okay. So also, when I'm looking at the numbers, and I have done this probably 50 times in the last several years, but if you want to make $100,000, anybody, you really need to gross 200 to take home 100, right? Mm-hmm. And there's income tax and self-employment tax. So really about 35% of that top number is going to taxes. And then another 15 is really your expenses because of, whether it's hair color or the tools you have to do your job in your case and things like that. Really, you're right down to half. So if you need to gross $200,000 in a year, I like to break that down further. But real quick, I like to point out the way I remember what gross means is because it's disgusting what you have to make.
It's true.
And your net income is what is left in the net of things after everything falls out.
Right, exactly. It's whatever's being caught in that net.
Yes.
So for those of you who get confused between gross and net, I love that, Barbara. That's a good analogy.
Thank you. Okay, so real quick, I don't want to be too boring here, but so $200K to gross. So if you're going to work 50 weeks a year, so that's 2 weeks off, whether you take 2 weeks off, whether you take 1 week off, or you just happen to take off 5 days here and there. So I'm taking it by 50 weeks a year. You need to bring in $16,666 per month. Ooh. And then if you take it down to the week, it's $4,000 roughly. It could be just a little over $4,000 a month. Or I'm sorry, a week.
A week.
$4,000 a week. And so depending on, I think that's a very, very good number, by the way, to figure out your income. Mm-hmm. So for bringing in $4,000 per week, and depending on how many days you work. So I work 4 days a week, so I need to be making $1,000 a day at work. Mm-hmm. Or bringing in. Wow. And so people have to adjust that accordingly if they work 3 days or 2 days, or maybe work 5 days, and each of those days doesn't
depends how many hours you're doing. Like me, I do 3 days, but my days are 10 to 12 hours.
Exactly.
And don't forget, people, that's behind the actual chair earning that money. When you have a salon suite, you are still working when you are not behind the chair.
Right.
Putting orders in, getting back to clients. We're talking just behind the chair, the money that's actually coming in. Where most jobs you're getting paid When you're not behind your chair and you're doing orders or whatever that may be, we don't get paid for any of that time. And I don't know about you, mine's at least a couple hours a week between getting back to clients, putting orders in, checking inventory, looking at numbers. It's an extra 4 to 5 hours. That's $400-500. Let's say if someone gets $100 an hour, that you are not actually bringing in at all. So you got to use your time wisely.
Well, another thing I was going to say is when it comes to accounting, like you can either add on a couple hours to your week to do your accounting, or you can be paying somebody to do your accounting for you. But you kind of have to equate for that too, whether you want to put in the labor hours versus the actual funds to pay a professional to do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I wanted to say hair color has gone up in cost quite a bit. I would say more than 9%, actually. But
I'm going to say it's closer to 12.
Yeah.
12%.
Yeah. Also, if you're having a service done that requires extensions, say you're getting extensions, part of the reason that costs so much is because, as a hairdresser, we need to figure out how much we need to bring in per hour to get to that 1,000 per day or 4,000 per week, however we get to that. So if you are getting extensions and you have obviously, human hair is really the only way to go. And I double checked, it's between $300 and $1,000 for the extensions. And so on top of that is the price of however many hours that person has to work putting them in and styling them to jive with your hair.
Right. That's why extensions are, that service is so expensive as well. It's not necessarily what this person is charging. The hair itself is very expensive to get real hair.
Yeah. So that one's a big one. And that is a big luxury.
Yeah. That's definitely a luxury service.
Yeah.
So if you're getting hair extensions, people, you need to be good to your hair extensionist person.
Yes.
It's not her fault. I mean, that's a lot of tedious, a lot of work to do extensions. I mean, yeah.
Agreed. Also, I just wanted to bring up, I have really looked around. I don't know about other cities. I haven't looked in other cities, but certainly in and around Chicago, it is very common for a suite rental to be like $350 a week. So that really adds up too. So, that puts the pressure on if you're an independent to, it's insult to injury kind of paying a rent if you're not going to be able to be there that week.
Oh, yeah, because you still have to pay it no matter what. So let's say, just for your rent, you're paying $1,400 to $1,500 a week. That doesn't include shampoo, conditioner, styling products.
$1,400-1,500 a month.
I mean, $1,400 to $1,500 a month, right? Let's say kind of like in our area, right? Chicagoland area. It's not just your rent. You have insurance, you have shampoo, you have conditioner, you have styling product, you have your tools, you have your insurances, you have your classes, so by the time you're done, you probably are spending coffee, water, snacks. I mean, the list goes on and on. Every single penny is coming out of your pocket just to service that person. So let's just say you're spending $2,500, okay? And I charge $125 for a haircut. Well, guess what? I have to, before I can even make $1, I'm having to do at least 30 clients before I even make $1. That's a lot of people to do. That's 1 week of work without getting basically paid to cover those costs just to even stay in business.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an easy breakdown that I just did right there. That was like a real quick one.
Yeah. So these also bring into light how, as somebody who's not a hairstylist, how you might understand that when you have one person cancel per day, the level of anxiety and or frustration that your hairstylist might be expressing to you, because it's not about we don't appreciate you, but if someone is getting really upset and not hiding it, it's because of this situation. Like, it's the financial part of it is stressful.
Right, right. And it's not their fault. Look, things happen. We have to cancel, but that's why I think the policies come into place here. 24-hour notice. Hey, if you don't know, X amount of hours notice. Most of the time when we're busy, we can fill it. If we can fill it, fine. But if you're calling last minute or within the last 20 minutes, hey, I can't make it. Yeah, we get upset. You knew 20 minutes before that you're not going to be able to make it. I'm sorry. Just have some consideration. Yeah. That's all.
Well, and a lot of us have these cancellation policies, put in place to protect our finances and our situation. And I will say 100%, like if I can actually fill the spot, I wouldn't charge somebody.
Right. Me too. Absolutely. I mean, we're not that evil.
No.
I mean,
no.
We compromise too. We try. If you're a good business person,
yeah,
got to do what you got to do, I guess.
Yeah. Well, there's a term for it. They call it emotional discounting. If you're like charging people less or waiving no shows or last minute cancellations just because you love them.
And
I love all. We do.
I do. I love all my people. I love them all. But at some point, it's like I believe they love us in return, or else they wouldn't be coming to us, whether it be for what we're giving them through our art and craft, or that emotional connection, friendship.
Yeah.
Right. But
because we love you, but we're also looking at the bottom line, and I need to gross $4,000, and that's not changing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyhow, okay. I would say, though, kind of circling back to your question earlier, is it worth it for a colorist? I would say it is, because I went to different salons hoping for benefits. And listen, I don't want to trash anybody I used to work for. It's cool people. But, also when things change, just like in America, our health system, I've worked at 2 different places that were offering insurance or having an insurance plan that you can just pay your part into. And just 1 year, it just changes and they don't have it anymore.
Oh, yeah. And it's okay. That's legal to do. They don't have to offer you anything.
And I understand it from their point, but also, I mean, it's just frustrating. Like, anyway, so some of the downsides of working for somebody else, I would put up with in order to try to get some of those benefits. But at the end of the day, when you don't even get the benefits, you just kind of want the freedom. And so for me, it's worth it to have the freedom of answering only to myself.
Right. And no salon politics, because there is a lot of that.
Yeah. And so, everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. And it's, I sound a little bit evil saying this, but it can be stressful to me depending on other people, because sometimes they just let you down, Right, right. So you have more control and less stress. Like, I don't want to have to, beg for time off when the bottom line is I'm going to be off no matter what.
Right.
But I don't want to defy somebody to do it,
Yeah, definitely.
It's that confrontation. I don't like it.
Me neither.
All right. Well, I think we've covered everything we wanted to talk about with this topic. But please, anybody who's interested, go to our YouTube and message us. Let us know any other details of the financial part of things that you want to know.
Yeah, because we're curious too, different states, different areas. I'm curious too, like where it's at, and how are other hairstylists feeling about the impact of the inflation and how it's affected their business. And if they have questions they want us to kind of air and try to get feedback from other people, that would be nice too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also why if you go and live in New York City, it's going to cost $500 to do anything to your hair, because those people have to live in New York City that are doing your hair.
That's right.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe or follow. And please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Lastly, follow us on social media for clips of past and future episodes. All our accounts are listed in the show notes below. Thanks so much for listening.